Alright, what's going on, guys? Just going to try to do another little video here on the superior Accutrak ultrasonic leak detector. Oh yeah, this is my baby. There's been a lot of talk going around here lately about leak detectors and what's the best. That seems like the unanswered question that we're all looking for. Which one's the best? Which one's the best? Zach's been talking about it a lot on HVAC Shop Talk. If you haven't checked out his channel, make sure you do that every Saturday night. He does a lot of good stuff, does some giveaways and whatnot. So be sure to check out Zach, HVAC Shop Talk. And the question has come up a lot, and he's sort of doing a series right now where he's putting one leak sniffer up against another one. And I am just a firm believer in this ultrasonic. I got this thing last year, and man, it was a pile of money, but this is literally one of the best things I've ever bought. It amazed me from the very first time I used it on a leak. It just blew my mind how well it worked. Now there's a couple of different versions of this. You know, there's one out there that's their top of the line. It's over $1,000, and you do not need that. Not for what we do. That's, you know, for big commercial industrial places, big plants that are, you know, got 1,000 steam valves and motors they got to keep track of, and, you know, the boss is paying for that. But if it's coming out of your pocket, you know, a few $100 is plenty enough. But the detector goes right here. I've got it in another room over here with a little setup. I'm going to try to do a demonstration. These are my little earbuds. That's usually what I stick in my ears and use, but it comes with these. They fold down flat, so they fit in the case nicely. There is a volume adjustment, so you can adjust the volume you hear in your ears. It comes with this little yellow tube that you can put on the end of it. That's kind of like an extension wand that's going to get you further back into your, you know, tight spaces, back in your indoor coil, places like that. I've just put another little piece of rubber tubing there. That's off an old pulse furnace. That's some Tygon tubing that I put in there. It does come with a 9-volt battery that goes right here. And then up underneath this, you're going to have your paperwork and stuff under the foam. So if you buy one of these, don't think, hey, wait a minute, man, I didn't get all the stuff Shannon did. And see, I got mine from Tru Tools. They had the best deal going at the time. The little yellow wand, and this thing comes up underneath here with all your registration cards and owner's manual and stuff. So that's under this piece of foam up top. So anyway, this thing right here is the main reason you want to buy this one over some of the other ones. There's another one called the gooseneck, and it has this permanent, like a flexible wand, kind of like our leak sniffers have. That thing's permanently attached to the end of that thing. It doesn't come off. So that's going to limit the possibilities that you have when using these things, whereas this right here fits onto the end of the snout of that thing, and this is a metal wand. And this thing allows you to hear inside of stuff, like motors. You can hear the bearings in a motor going bad. If you were in charge of maintenance in a big factory, you know, you could go around to all your motors, you know, once every month or whatever, and listen to the inside of them, and you can hear bearings getting weak, going bad. That would be very useful for auto mechanics. Steam traps, valves, you know, where you turn off the valve and there's not supposed to be any steam going past there, and you can touch it and you can hear that it's still bypassing some, so you know your valve's bad. If you played around with it enough, which I have not at this point, I'm sure you could use it to help diagnose reversing valves, TXVs malfunctioning. So there's a lot of possibilities with this thing, and it does pick up the sound of air escaping. That's the main thing that we're going to be using this for, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in a minute. But it also picks up the sound of air in a vacuum, like being sucked into a hole. So after you pulled a vacuum on your line set, you could maybe use it for something like that. You could turn off the vacuum pump and listen to your solder joints, and you could literally probably hear a pinhole where, you know, you missed a little spot and you need to go back and solder it. A lot of manufacturing places use that in their processes, where they're pulling a vacuum down on like acrylic molds and stuff like that, where they have a big sheet of plastic that gets sucked down and forms a mold. So they use it for stuff like that. And then also electrical discharges. And I'm going to demonstrate that too, because you might get one of these and say, man, that Shannon, he trick me into buying a big piece of crap. I hear all kinds of weird crap, and it's not leaks. You have to learn how to use these things. So the first thing we're going to do here is try to use our little compressed air. And my leak detector is back here. I've just got it attached with a little patch cord, and where the headphones goes, it's there. And you hear that right now? That's my phone. That's my phone making a little electrical discharge. That's why it's hard to do videos on these things, because your phone picks up noise. So anyway, I'm going to try to bump this air. I'm going to go back here, you know, I'm probably 14, 15 feet away. And now listen to this. I'm just going to bump the air. So see, this is where this one is different than some of those cheap Chinese ones. Those cheap Chinese things, all you see is a little light, and you hear a tone like on our electronic leak sniffers. You can't distinguish what kind of leak it is, if it's some kind of electrical interference. Whereas this one, you're hearing what is happening. You can tell a distinct difference between air escaping and air being sucked in. You can tell whether it's a dry leak or a wet leak. You know, if there's condensation on the indoor coil or some oil around the leak spot, it's going to sound totally different than a leak that's at the outdoor unit where it's totally dry. Or at the top of the indoor coil where there's no oil, it's going to sound totally different than the leak down at the bottom where there's maybe some moisture still in the drain pan or whatever. But we're up closer now, so I'm just going to bump this as lightly as I can to try to let as little air out as possible. And you know, it's hard to do, but you know, we're already picking it up, and we're still a fair amount away. But that just kind of shows you what air escaping sounds like. You can hear it on the speaker. So this is what you're listening for, and that's what you will literally hear when there is a leak in a coil. It's amazing. And then the light, you know, alerts you. You have different levels from top to bottom to let you know how big it is. You can see that light going up and down. Okay, so give me just a second and I'm going to set up and show you a couple of other things that you might hear with this thing. Alright guys, now we're back. And I have the faucet on in my bathroom there. And it's at just the right point to where the water's coming out and there's actually like a little air escaping because that valve is just right, you know, to where it's making some noise. So listen to what this sounds like as we pass by here. So you can hear that on our speaker, and you see how you can narrow it down just by swinging back and forth to where that's at. Now look what will happen if we turn the water on to where we're just flowing water now. Okay, so now we're not really getting that sound anymore. Now we're flowing water. Well, there, see there, it just came back. Okay, hang on. Okay, so there, now we're just flowing some water, and now there's not really anything there. And usually where I run this thing, there's my phone interfering again, usually where I run this thing, this is your sensitivity over here, is just about halfway or a little past halfway. Very seldom do you have to go all the way up on that. That would be for a tiny little leak. The only time I've had to do that was one time on a mini split head. Really small leak, and it was back inside of that sucker, and I could hear it faintly back in there, and I had to turn it on high sensitivity, but it did find it back in there. Now here's another kind of little odd thing. This switch on my wall right here is a dimmer. Okay, it's off right now. We're not hearing anything. Now check this out, guys. This is weird. Now listen to that. So you hear the difference? That in no way, shape, or form sounds like a leak. You can tell. That's some weird electrical interference there. And my phone sounds like that. If I point this thing at my phone, you know, when I'm not filming, I can hear my phone making all these weird noises, and it makes you think, man, I've got this thing up against my brain and in my pocket next to my junk. But you can tell all these electrical devices are putting off sounds. Listen to that. Now let's turn it all the way up, because we're adjusting that flow of electricity through that switch, and we're dimming that light up there. Now listen, when we turn it back off, see, now there's nothing. I found a relay on a Linux defrost board that was going bad one time that way, making a weird noise when I was looking for a refrigerant leak. Now here's the back of my TV, and this is an old-timey TV, guys, but it is what it is. Now listen to that. Okay, so we move around here. Now go back to the back of the TV. Can you hear that? So, some weird electrical noises there. So every now and then you will hear stuff like that. And don't think that this thing's a piece of junk and it's broke. It's just picking up stuff that you can't hear. One time I was searching for a leak at an indoor coal in a unit down in an unfinished I'm going to turn this off. Just push and hold the button for a second. All right. It was like an unfinished concrete slab basement, you know, and I kept hearing this weird sound behind me. Every time I turned around, I thought, what is that? So I start searching for it. I start heading in the direction where it was coming from, and it took me over toward the water heater. But as I got around the water heater and thought, man, what's going on with this water heater? Where's this coming from? It started getting quieter. And then I backed up to the left, and it got louder. I went back to the water heater. It started going away. So I go back to the wall, and plugged in on an outlet in the wall is one of those rodent repellers, those ultrasonic things that you can buy that's supposed to repel mice and rodents and critters. And you always think, those things probably don't work. It's probably not putting out any sound. That's a gimmick. No, they really put out sound, and you can hear it with this because it's in the ultrasonic range. So that proved to me that not only does this thing work, but those critter repellers actually put out sound. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go around the other side of this wall right here where my TV is. I'm going to go back here into the bedroom, and I want to let you hear that noise all the way through the wall. Studs, walls, everything. Let you hear this sound. Hang on, I'll be right back. Alright guys, so we're back, and I turned it up to the higher sensitivity. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. And right there, that TV's on the other side of that wall right there. Now if I move away, it's going down. That crackling right there is coming from my cell phone. But now watch when I move back. That is wild, you guys. That is that TV coming all the way through that wall. So you can see how you might be able to track down some stuff like that also. So that's kind of wild. But this thing has a lot of different utility purposes. I mean, you can use this thing to find all kinds of stuff. You can buy the transmitter for this thing, and you can find, leaks in seals inside of a sealed compartment. So the automotive guys will put the transmitter thing inside of the car, and then they will close up all the doors and windows and everything, and then they will go around the rubber gaskets of the windshield and the windows and everything, and you can find any leaks in those rubber gaskets. So you refrigeration guys could put that thing inside of, a cooler, a Trauson, sandwich table, whatever, any kind of a drawer with a gasket on it. You could close it up and listen and find leaks in your gasket with that transmitter. But, you know, that's something that I don't really need, so I didn't spring for the transmitter because that's just more money. But this is the kit that you want here. It's going to come with all that nice stuff and allow you to find all kinds of leaks and find them quick. So that is the VPE. That's the one you want. V is in Victor, P is in Paul, E is in Edward. And I did get this on Tru Tools. Tru Tools is kind of like the online version of Grainger tools, except they're not quite as expensive as Grainger. They do offer like a 10, 15, sometimes a 20% off coupon depending on how much you spend. So you can save. Sometimes they'll offer you a coupon on your first purchase if you're a new customer. So you can save a little bit of money. But I just wanted to do a little quick demonstration there, show you some of the things that you can hear. You know, the big thing we're using it for is those leaks. And guys, you can find them so fast. The very first time I ever used it was on a ream unit that we had just put in. It hadn't even been in a year. And the lady called and said that she had some water down in her floor and she saw ice around the foam insulation that was attached to the unit. So sure enough, I go out there and find the thing like 3 pounds low on refrigerant. So I gas it up and I search outside first. And this house was right near an interstate. And just off to the right of me, there's tractor trailers whizzing by, cars and stuff. None of that interferes with this. All you're hearing is the sound of that leak. You don't hear all those cars and the guy mowing the yard next door and the wind blowing, stuff like that. Now you might hear the grass crunching under your feet a little bit as you're walking, but I didn't hear anything outside. So I went inside. She had a big deep closet that was, you know, not really a walk-in closet, but it went back about 4 feet and the indoor unit was tucked back in there. And I swear to God, guys, I turned this thing on, and as soon as I turned the corner, I'm 3 feet away from this unit with the door still on the indoor unit, and I clearly heard there's a leak inside there. So sure enough, I took the door off. I could tell it was coming from the front, but I went ahead and searched the whole back of the indoor coil. The sound was much more faint back toward the back. When I got up to the front, it got much more loud. You know, I could tell it's right up here by the TXV. So sure enough, it's a bolt-in TXV, and both sides of the TXV was leaking. And I could specifically tell where the leak was coming from. On the right hand side, the leak was toward the back, and on the left hand side, the leak was more up toward the front. So I went and got the soap bubble, sprayed it on there, and sure enough, I could see right there that's exactly where it was leaking from. So I get to researching this, and what started the whole deal was when I looked down in the floor at my feet after she moved all her clothes and boxes out of the way, what do I see but a little blue Teflon ring laying on the floor right at the base of the indoor unit. And I thought, man, what do you want to bet if this is laying down here on the floor, it's not inside that TXV? And sure enough, guys, as it turned out, when we went back and pumped that thing down and took it all apart, because I tried to tighten it up. No matter how much you tighten it up, it just wasn't going to stop the leak because the seals weren't in there. Once we busted that TXV apart, neither one of those discs were inside of there, and that was our guys that did it. But, you know, like they say, shit happens. And I guess those discs fell out, and that TXV was tightened up, and there's no way that you can stop that leak, no matter how much you tighten it. So anyway, that was my first experience with this thing, and that bought and sold me, man. It was just incredible. I was like, this is worth the money. You know, sometimes you buy a tool and you feel like you got ripped off. You think, man, I'm never going to get my money's worth out of this. But that thing paid off the first time I used it, and it has ever since. Can't wait for summer to get here, start finding some more leaks. But there's not a lot of videos out there on these things. Not many guys talk about them. We all have sniffers, but not a lot of guys have these. So I wanted to try and do a video. I've got a few other videos out there. I'll try to put some links below where you can buy one of these, and links to some of my other videos actually using it out in the field and finding some of this stuff. But I just wanted to try to do another video to show you some of the other weird things that you're going to hear with one of these. So if you spring the money for one of these, you're not going to be shaking your fist at me thinking, man, I bought this thing and now listen to all this crap I'm hearing, because you just got to learn how to use it and learn what all you're hearing. But man, it'll really pay off in the end. So it's just something you might want to consider. I know it's a big investment, but you know, it does pay off in the end, especially when it saves you time's money out in the field. So anyway, guys, as always, I appreciate you watching. Leave me a comment below, like and subscribe. And guys, I will catch you next time. See you.